liberty, and justice for all.
This nation is effed. Our coffers are bereft. There ain't nothing left. Our economy's been cleft by crooks clever and deft. Taxation is theft. So listen to my commentary. My one voice isn't solitary. My message here is cautionary. It's for all time, not momentary. If freedom ain't just honorary, then what we give is voluntary. Don't give unless it's voluntary. The Voluntariist by Jack Lloyd now. Funding on Indiegogo. Fund it, but do it voluntarily.
The Immortal Mask, a 1970s superhero crime noir adventure, follows a retired soldier turned reporter who is given a coveted interview with a death row inmate. What he learns thrusts him into Atlanta's shadowy underworld. He'll have to use his military training to survive being hunted for possessing the information that could topple the city's most powerful ruling class. This is not a pre-order or a crowdfunding campaign. Get your books now at denali's.com.
Entertainment Group presents the Madness Comic Network with original programming and additional comic-related content.
I was sitting all alone in my library chair when I found a book and it gave me a scare. The pages I kept turning, it quite took me in. What was it? Oh, where do I begin? We read the monsters. I read the monsters next door. The monsters. It had short stories galore. The monsters. It's full of horror and gore. The monsters.
25 seconds to curtain, folks.
It's a Critical Blast podcast with special guest Jack Lloyd.
And here he is, folks, the man of the hour, Mr. Jack Lloyd. So much clicking. It's hard running a show. My finger gets tired. Jack, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, RJ. I don't even know what you did for that beginning. I was listening to the lyrics. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm like, it's about voluntarists. Like, how do you do this? You had this whole rap song that was, really in tune with the message. I was like, how did that happen? Was that some AI thing or?
Well, it was AI assisted.
Nice.
But yeah, the lyrics were mine. And I just, used some AI tools to help make it, auto-tuned sort of as a way. Now I say the lyrics were mine. That was not me saying singing the songs. And like, wow, how many words can I get to rhyme with voluntary?
It's incredible. It really blows my mind just seeing that and how much these types of tools can empower people to really create and do so many things. It really is just impressive. So
yeah,
wow.
It's funny because I tell everybody in my day job that I work with data scientists, and because I am one, I've recently been made the generative AI guy for the bank that I work for. We have we have a presentation coming up with a huge tech company that we partnered with, and it's all generative AI. And we're doing the slideshow on, what generative AI is going to be able to do for our customers and all that. And then we just, say thank you and throw up the last slide. And the last slide was me. That's why I'm watching for that one, because it's like all of a sudden it's a music video, and it ends with believe it or not, this was made with AI, and it's like the images, the animation, the music. It was all different AI packages that were used and then cobbled together to make one Frankenstein. So it's fun. It's expensive.
It is.
It's fun.
Oh, it's a ton of fun. It's amazing. I mean, I use some of those tools myself just these days. Like I find it useful when working with artists to kind of do mock-ups. So I've already used it to, give them some inspiration or give them some visuals where it's like, can't find the image right away kind of thing. So, it's only getting better from here, in terms of being able to help envision what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, people who like just, throw in some keywords and take the image and like, yeah, that's good. And they slap it up there and then they slap the next one. That's not an artist. Although it is, a test of your skill as an art director. If you, can communicate well enough that the AI can bring your vision to the screen. But, the people who are artists, they use it for like what you said. It's like a composition and you work on that or you work from that. So that you can't copyright the thing it spits out, but if you use it for composition and then you make like 1,000 tweaks to it and you throw a bunch of other elements on it, then you absolutely damn well can copyright that. That is your work at that point, whether or not there was any AI involved at all. But that's me. I'm sort of laissez-faire about what creativity is and what it isn't. See how I throw those words right in there, just like I know what you mean and trying to be topical.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So
you are your book is The Voluntaryist, and on the face of it, now, of course, I know what it's about from the last time, but I forgot a lot. But on the face of it, it's almost like a comic book version of a Schoolhouse Rock adventure story. Because like, yeah, there's this adventure, but there's this underlying principle that's always present. The message behind the medium, and it's daring, particularly in an environment where mainstream comics push a political agenda frequently. I'm not going to say all the time because no, they don't, but frequently it's over there, and then there's a pushback against that, saying, "Hey, we don't want politics in our comics," and you're just like, you know what? I'm not only going to put politics in my comics, I'm going to name the book after the entire philosophy of it. So, people know what they're getting when they walk into the Voluntarist.
I do a little bit. I would say, one of the tough things that I guess sometimes hard to communicate with people and get them to see is that, they think of politics as being something with government and elections alone kind of thing. They think like a politician, but I think of politics more so in philosophy and worldview. And my opinion is that every single story has a political sense to it, because there is always the question of what is seen as morally or ethically right. There's always a question of what is presented, as good versus bad, what is presented and left unchallenged. Like, even if part of it's challenged, what goes on beyond that. And I have been a study of those things, like looking at, American comic books and things that have been very popular, going across the major genres, and have just noticed that by and large, there are very strong and patent political themes, in every major comic book series, whether it's Superman talking to various presidents, from Reagan to Kennedy. I mean, you had Obama on a Spider-Man issue. Captain America is literally, the star, the stars and stripes and everything. If it was, Captain North Korea, it'd be obvious. Oh, hey, there's a national political identity with that. But because it's the hometown team, people just kind of assume it, and they're like, oh, okay, whatever. Right. So, for me, I've found that most every single major series that people enjoy definitely has political themes, definitely has moral philosophy presented in it. And more than ever, today, especially with what you see, if you're watching like The Boys or Invincible, right? Those are some of the bigger shows right now, in terms of comic book adaptations. Those have gotten an even greater politicization with the kind of democratic, socialist, progressive SJW bent, further than the comics even were themselves, which they actually were, in that direction, but they take it up, to 11 on the dial now. And they're open about that. Even the producers, if you watch the after episodes and the producers talking, they even say, what they're doing in there, talking about specifically trying to promote gun control in The Boys, and specifically like doing this paradigm of the, people who are the right wingers and, wearing the red hats as being these like, bad guy bumpkin people. It's very intentional. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm actually almost kind of having something a bit lighter with my series, because my series isn't actually all that much focused in that direct way. It's actually more so that the characters develop the ideas through experience and discussion and action. It's very much a story that is a superhero's journey story, and the principles are just flipped from what the mainstream is at this point.
Actually, okay with the idea of heroes pushing a leftist message or a conservative message, if it's what the character is and what it's about. It's I think I think the reactionaryism today is that it's more or less you're taking a character who's never been a certain way, and you're putting your words in their mouth because it sounds better coming from them than coming from you. But for years, I loved the hell out of the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, Green Lantern, Green Arrow series, and that was very much a push-pull between Green Arrow's very liberal views and Green Lantern's very conservative ones, and sometimes this guy ended up being more right than the other, and sometimes this guy ended up being more right than the other, and they had that tug of war going. The journeys are good; they're very good. Thank you, George.
Right. And of course, and that's a part of making stories interesting. If everyone is perfect and everyone has everything together, you don't have points for conflict. You don't have things to struggle over, what's the right course of action. So I agree with you there. I'm not against the, having deep philosophy discussed or having deep ideas discussed. I would just say the two things I most often push back against are, one, the idea that this just doesn't exist in comics, which it does, and it's so rampant. It's people don't even know sometimes because they become so acclimated to it. And the second, of course, is exactly what you said: is taking beloved characters or changing the original stories and adaptations and making them something that they're not, and really destroying that whole legacy. So completely agree there. That is a part of it, and that's a part of what I do with my own series. Is I don't want that to happen. I want my characters to have strong continuity, and not make things just like, oh, well, I think it happened, who cares, and I can just rewrite. No, I want to have their some type of substance where you really care about what happens and how that builds. So
okay, So when you have a character calling himself the voluntarist, rule of thumb about any superhero is always name yourself after your powers and abilities. Spider-Man, we know what you do. Superman, got a vague idea that you're pretty super. If you've gained the ability to harden your skin like an armadillo, you don't call yourself Marshmallow Man. It just confuses the bad guys. So when bad stuff's going down and a guy in yellow shows up called the voluntarist, is he volunteering to help? What is it that connects his name to his abilities, if anything?
Yeah, so the voluntarist ethos is, of course, about not initiating force against others, respecting individual body, property, consent, that kind of thing. So there is, as the story progresses, of course, his character isn't there yet when it starts off by any means. He doesn't, fully understand these things, but it's a part of his development of trying to not cause more harm and have blowback in the actions that he takes, which is often taken for granted in a lot of traditional superhero lores. It's like they'll destroy the city in the process. Like, oh, well, at least it's not the bad guy, right? So there's a little bit more considerations of that, thinking about how you don't escalate harm and trying to avoid causing more destruction in the process. And then there is something, you could say, to the powers and the power scaling that deals with these concepts, and they have kind of a very deep intertwined meaning that hasn't been, at least in the canon story, written about yet. We're still not there in terms of what that means. If you don't mind a little bit of spoilers, again, it's nothing ultimately spoiling, but there are some things you kind of get a sneak preview on the Vol Comic website. You could see that there's some things that hint at what comes up, and see how that intertwines with how people have their powers, or how their powers might basically come into a problematic form. So there's definitely a many ties to that name, and what the character is deciding to do, and also how they're able to express their abilities.
And his ethos has an impact on other heroes because you have a team. It's like the League of Voluntarists or something like that. But they all emulate his uniform and his ideals. So they're almost all sidekicks in a way. But can you expound on the team and why they're all why are they all leaning the same way? You got Justice League, fist fights between Green Arrow and Hawkman over political ideas. Here, are they all kind of saying, yeah, we're all kind of following this idea here? They're like super moonies.
Well, no, like in terms of the other characters that I've featured, since none of them have actually been formally written yet in the canon story. So at this point in time, we only had the Voluntarist Origins 192-page trade paperback, and we're working on the Suit Saga arc right now. So in terms of what has actually been written that's canon, not just like a Futureverse prototype thing that I've done in the past, those characters have not actually been formally introduced yet, while I do have some of their designs, a little bit about them on the Voluntarist website. So some people might, get like sneak previews again, what might be coming. But those characters do have different personalities and interests and points about where they are in their journey. And each of them, brings to the table different things that can be useful or that can cause trouble. But yeah, none of them are purely, you could say, sidekick kind of thing. They do each have their own independence and their own independent significance. So I'd say that the people who are closest together kind of at the hip at this point in the series would be basically him and the other main character, Mac Lee, who is the Black Ops agent who defects from the government and comes to Jack in the story and begins to help him in that process. So they are kind of the main people working together, and then things kind of develop from there.
Now, defects from the government. You say the government, you mean our government, right?
In this story, yes, it is the U.S. government that is trying to find who has been affected by the cosmic event, because their plans to have this false flag that is to make it seem as if aliens were invading using their own genetic modification experiments, it kind of gets thrown into some confusion and disorder, because now they have to deal with other superhumans and creatures and things that weren't expected, right? They had these plans, and now all of a sudden they have all these different variables that they weren't expecting to have to deal with when they were carrying this out. So that's a big part of the story and the contention here between him and of course the government trying to capture him, and as he's of course trying to get his parents back.
Yeah. So is he treated as, I'm going to say the big I word. Is he treated as sort of an insurrectionist in this universe? I mean, is he actively trying to change government?
So not necessarily. So he in the story, he just graduates from college. You know, he gets out from his engineering degree and he comes home and he's helping out on his parents' farm. He thinks, okay, I'm going to help out while his dad gets a hip surgery, and he'll be on to a job afterward that he got after doing an internship. So he's just a regular guy overall who came from a family that was more liberty leaning. They were organic farmers and kind of, you know, distrust the government kind of thing and just did their own thing. But now he's been, you know, foisted into this situation that he, you know, was not really looking to be in at all. He thought that he was just going to be going on to normal life, like someone who finishes school and think they're going to go into some job. So in the you know main part of the story, he's trying to just figure out what the heck is going on and why is this happening to him, and why is the government after, you know, everybody in this way. He really is trying to deeply understand it because he's completely outside it. And the only person that's been able to give him any information is Mac Lee, who he's essentially having just a trust in the interim without any material background to it, just because he came to save him. And, you know, that's the best that he's got right now because he has no connection to it.
Yeah. And he's not the only powered one, because like you said, you've got previews of there will be other people. And I'm sure the villains or whatever roles are antagonists in this book are also extra humanly powerful. Is this a new thing in this universe, or is this just the current thing in this universe? And I'm talking about people having powers.
Yeah, it's a new thing. So, before this event, there was no widely, at least as far as everybody knows, there was no widely known superpowered people. There's some stuff that ties into that later on, but basically in terms of the global consciousness of people knowing things, there was no public superhero kind of thing or public change people kind of thing. The government thought they had the upper hand in being able to kind of make everybody believe that there was this false flag going to happen, with their specific program of genetic and I guess you could say chimera engineering. But then now they're kind of stuck because they have to deal with these other variables of other people and creatures being changed in a way that they were trying to achieve, but weren't able to successfully do on a perfect scale kind of thing. So,
all right. Harrowenberg, thank you for throwing the link out there in the chat, because that reminds me to tell people early in the show rather than at the end that the link for the campaign we're about to show you is right below the video. It's the very first thing. So, because it's the most important thing. There are other links there, and we want you to click on those too. We've got, our merch store. We've got all the books that we publish. If you are leaning towards a particular independent comic book group, we have patches that will, that will represent that group, and you can purchase those. But first and foremost, go to the campaign, and that would be this campaign, the Voluntaryist Suit Saga. I have to know, is this about a villainous tailor, or is he going to court? What is the Suit Saga? What do we mean by this?
So Suit Saga here is talking about how Voluntaryist comes to don the suit. So up until this point, there would be, no reason for him to have a super suit or anything like that, or have any type of design or emblem. He's just a regular guy, and he, was hit by this and he's confused about what's going on. So he had no purpose. He had no, long-term backstory about trying to do anything, in terms of being, a super person or helping people in that way. This is all just new to him. So this is about how he comes to have that suit and, the process in the story of getting that and then donning it. So as you can see that though, the little picture there, the thumbnail is not of the suit, but of another part of the series, which is introducing other characters. And especially here, you can see that's Leviathan, who's the arch nemesis of Voluntaryist in the story. So
people with red skin and pointy ears and horns are never the hero.
Not typically, unless you're like Hellboy and you think of him as a hero, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Herrenberg's saying, you'd think Eric July would be very interested in a series like this. And I don't know, because it seems to me the last time I was trying to pigeonhole voluntarian, voluntarism into libertarianism, and it didn't quite fit that way, if I recall right. It's not the same thing. And I don't
well,
know if you're familiar with his political views or not. You would definitely be more familiar with them than I am. But so I wouldn't know how to express them, and I wouldn't want to express them for him. But
well, I
we're,
appreciate
we're
mentioning that. Yeah, I do have my nonfiction books as well. These books here: Definitive Guide to Libertarian Voluntarism, A Vision for Libertarian Future, and Philosophical Voluntarism. Those are nonfiction books, not related to the comics at all. But
that's not a satanic symbol, there, folks. Don't freak out. That's your.
Yeah, that's just the logic symbol for all, which ties into being for all, like these principles. But yeah, there's definitely crossover and overlap. I define it in my books as just voluntarism being the consent ethics thing, which is you're thinking about how to manifest consent with others. The libertarian part is just the proper rights theory aspect. What are the bounds of what is properly yours versus somebody else? So there's a lot of overlap in terms of how they, synchronize, and that's what I cover in those books. But yeah, of course, Eric July is himself, of similar belief and values, and we have a history together. So he definitely has supported voluntarists in the past. I can say that. And he is just in a different trajectory with what he does. His comics are, of course, not trying to be, political at all whatsoever. They're more just mainstream regular comics by and large. There's some, seeds and other things like that, but it's a little bit different. Whereas mine's a bit more of a mature topics kind of thing that, has some more, I guess you could say, graphic action, violence, that kind of stuff, more mature language, little bit different zone, closer to something like you'd read with like Watchmen or The Boys, where, that's not like a little kids or even young teens comic.
Now, you tie the word consent to voluntarism a lot, and I feel like the word consent over the past 5 to 10 years has become a cringe word, because it's like, yes, of course, there are things you do not do unless you've got somebody's consent, but it feels like it got used so much for so little that you're paralyzed now, that you don't feel like you can do anything. The like, romantic movies, you're with the girl, for weeks, and you're dating, and then under the moon you just turn to her and you kiss her. And you did that without getting a verbal or written contract first, so that you'd make sure you wouldn't go to court for assault, and it was okay because it was understood. Do you get that kind of a feeling from people when you say, hey, this is about, bodily consent and verbal consent? They're like, oh, no, that's not that kind of thing, right?
Well, yeah, not too much, because when it comes to this, I mean, consent matters in everything that we do, and sometimes it's just a matter of getting people to realize how much they value it. I mean, to want something in the first place is to consent to it. That's the act of consent. So you can't wish for your consent to be violated just by the nature of it, right? To want is to consent to something happening. So when we're talking about consent here, it is supposed to be a holistic philosophy about what are those lines, what does it take to have consent and why? And I think that is something that's been sadly lost often in the discourse, because so many times people confuse force and theft and fraud and murder as consents, right? And there's this manufacture of it, especially when it comes to the government. They say, well, you consented to be put into all this debt, you consented to have yourself with a bunch of shots, and you have all this other stuff. So we kind of value that philosophical thinking and making it more of a discourse that really does, permeate the rest of what we do, day to day. And I think that has a lot of value for our relationships, right? When you have friends who respect your stuff, they don't go and steal your stuff, they don't, violate your boundaries or just feel like they're entitled. I think that often builds a lot of trust and a lot of camaraderie, right? When you have people who really genuinely respect you and what you have, that kind of thing. It doesn't mean, oh, okay, there aren't times for just social norms where it's of course okay to tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, what's up? But we're talking more so the really most important things that, we really want to make sure we're being clear on when it comes to consent and having peace. So,
and of course, once you have violated without consent, that's pretty much you consenting to being violated right back. I mean, you can't be a superhero who says, I won't do anything without consent. And that means you can't punch the bad guy because there's no way he's going to agree to you doing that. And you've got to.
Right. So when we talk about that, in terms of that concept, it's this concept called estoppel, right? This idea that when you go to violate somebody else's consent, you can't say, "Whoa, I don't consent to you stopping my arm from hitting you," because again, that's violating your body. So of course, you're able to stop someone who's violating your body, your property, that kind of thing. The question that is, I think, timeless in terms of all types of this storytelling is just at what point are you taking things too far? And I think that goes across many genres, right? What's the appropriate escalation, if anything? Where are the bounds of being able to stop somebody and when? I think that underpins many different types of stories about, when is the appropriate time to respond, if any, and when is it taking things too far? So I think there's a lot to develop with that within Voluntarist.
Yeah. And Herrenberg suggests that replacing consent with autonomy might be a good idea because everyone can still agree on the same meaning to that one. And folks, this is how deep the subject of this comic book gets. We're a half hour in, and you haven't even seen it yet. We haven't shown you anything. We've just been talking about the very deep concept that this is going to hit on. So let me become, let me put my comic geek hat back on here and let's take a look at, what you're going to get here. An ANCAP comic. Now, is that like a few letters up from all cap comics? I mean, what is ANCAP? That's
so
it's hard to say because it's a ANCAP. I'm like, no, it's an ANCAP. What am I talking about?
Yeah, ANCAP Comics is my publishing label, and I would say I've pretty sure I'd be out way longer than they have because that was developed over 10 years ago. I've actually been doing Voluntarist now well over 10 years. So the ANCAP Comics label, though, was something that I created, just to be my general publishing brand so that when I branched out with more different titles and series, they were all under that. And I do also promote others through that branding who are, of course, creator owned, but just letting people know about other people's series who are, in line with my values and, have comic stories or sci-fi novels, that kind of thing. So, it's been a long time publishing logo.
So does it mean something? Is it an anagram or an acronym rather?
The ANCAP technically stands for anarcho-capitalist. So it's a shorthand of that, but it's, okay. Yeah, but I just like the framing. So
now, I'm familiar with anarcho-capitalist because I've heard it used. Don't know what it means, but I've heard it used. So I can use it in a sentence.
It's very popular in Argentina right now with Javier Milei, who's a cosplayer and also politician economist. He's big into that scene, and he has this character called Captain ANCAP or El Capitan ANCAP, and there's some funny images of that online. So
we're getting to the images here from now. This is from the last issue. This is our hero escaping, the people who had taken him, and they're, obviously shoot to kill. They're and he has obviously this ability, which is some sort of a force shield, as well as strength. So how does he compare to other heroes? What can he do?
There's a lot of things he can do. I can't speak about all those things without spoiling some things because to date, we've only seen some of his actions through the lens of him doing things, right? It hasn't been analyzed. There hasn't been any basis about why exactly this is happening, which, I do have all that, and there's a lot of depth to it, but it hasn't been fully revealed yet in all the inner workings. But we have seen him, fly up. We have seen him blow through doors and take some hits. So you can tell that within this type of energy that's emanating from him, it appears to be giving him some forms of powers that are not fully yet explored.
So he's just going to try to do something. And if he can, he can. If he can't, okay, don't do that again.
Actually on that note, yes, in the comic, a part of some of that development was just that, was him finding out the hard way whether he was able to fly or not, and things like that. So exactly right.
Apparently he takes off like he can, and I got real high, and maybe he can't.
Exactly. It's a lot of the story is him developing these things and figuring out what the heck is going on, because he has no idea. Just 1 second he's at home just trying to help his parents, keep things going while his dad is going to go in surgery, and the next moment the government's coming after him and he's on the run. So it's kind of a pull and tug situation.
Now is this photoshopped, or do you guys actually have cosplay outfits?
So those are real cosplay outfits. They are real Zentai suits. And that scene is actually from our music video, I Did Not Consent. So that is a frame from that music video.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I watched that several times. It was a cool rap video. So
it was a lot of fun.
Here are the goals: to make a book, folks. That's the goal. we want to do that. And after we'll make some new art. And then long term, to change your minds. No, I mean, but here are the perks. I'm glad you got them over here, because it's easier than trying to scroll through the thing. And because they get sorted in price order, we're not seeing the book just yet. You can get this die cut sticker here for the $10, which will have the voluntarist logo and the URL, which is cool, because then people see that, they're like, I don't know what that is, but I know where I can go. And then for 20, you can get the bookmark and the sticker. But 30 is where you want to pull your wallets out, because this is what you're really here for. You're here for comics. And you can get, cover A with Leviathan ripping through it looks like a kind of a garage door.
It's a metal door in a airport bay, and if you look carefully at the text below, it gives you a hint about what's going on. And this bookmark is actually super cool. I have one in my hand right here. It's actually an aluminum metal bookmark. You can kind of hear that. Yeah, I
did not get that from the image.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's just a digital image, but the real one is actually super cool. It's got this nice halftone pattern. It's reflective. It's sturdy. So this is not something that is just going to get bent and go away. This is going to last with you for a while. So I was really excited to produce this, and it's just super shiny. It's something like, okay, that's kind of cool. You definitely could use that for anything you're reading, any comics and stuff like that. So yeah,
very, very nicely done there. Maybe go in here and just say metal bookmark words. So we get that idea. It probably says it over. You got to put the word metal in here somewhere, man. So that people know this. But as the tiers go up, by the way, they increase. So when you get the bookmark, you're still getting the sticker from before. When you get the cover A of the book, you're getting the bookmark and the sticker from before. And then for 60, you can get both the covers. Is this second cover here not available on its own? It's
right. So that cover B is a campaign exclusive. So once the campaign's done, we will not be making that print on demand. That will be it. So that is a rare cover that, however many are picked up on this campaign, that's it. You got it. So
right. But what I'm saying is the only way to get it on the campaign is to get the other cover as well. It's not like you're saying,
oh yes, you can't. There is no standalone for just that. Right. You'll get the whole package of A and B and the bookmark and the sticker. Exactly.
Very cool. And then for 75, you get the collector card. Are there bigger images of these things? If I scroll further down,
like not of that yet. So the short of it is that my wife is supposed to do a little shoot with me. We keep having to push it back, but we were going to do some pictures with some of these perks. So you'd show off, as you were saying, excellent and definitely right, showing off that the bookmark is metallic. So we're going to add to the campaign a picture of her, showing it off. And we have some videos too. So we're going to add that as well. But we just, with when they came in, just hadn't gotten to it. So
Yeah. Well, the
Very
reason I was
cool.
asking because there's this
Yeah.
character card here, and I'd like to see a bigger image of the character card.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can see it right now
Obviously,
in my
this is
hand.
posing for this piece of art is based on her. I'm
The
guessing again, it's really small, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a character called Voloncap. So this is actually a preview that you can see here. I'm holding up. So the character card is for a character to come around later, and it's its own separate series as well. So she is a part of the universe, but she'll eventually have her own separate standalone series. So this
Now,
is
that looks like metallic ink. I wouldn't say it's a metal card, right? It's just metallic
this
ink.
one is not. This one is more of a paper cardstock kind of card. It's a jumbo card, so it is pretty big, but it's a character card of her with that halftone pattern. So,
And being talking about do not harm, do not consent doesn't mean don't carry a big gun.
that's right.
Because she's obviously got one there. Please consent to hit the like button. Thank you so much. I never asked for that. I never asked for likes because it just feels needy. But I will ask for shares because that gets our guests out in front of your friends, which is what we want. Mike, speaking of our friends, Mike Walter is here, dropping in to like and share and say hi, and we do appreciate that. As the top of the hour approaches, we encourage you to go to Mike Walter's channel, The Mike Stand, and catch up on the niche news of the day, and especially on Friday nights when we do the comic book historical retrospective and we read old Golden Age comics out loud, doing voices and sound effects, and it's like Radio of the Mind all over again. It's a ton of fun. And if you are curious about the I Did Not Consent music video, Heroinberg has so graciously provided us with the link to that. So follow that after this one.
After we just did another music video too. It's called Break the Great Reset. It's hilarious. We had this Klaus Schwab character in there as well. It's pretty funny. You definitely should check that out.
So and political season is coming, folks. I mean, we're electing a president again next year. So get ready for wall-to-wall political ads. You'll be sick of it. So you might as well get entertained by it and have a superhero teach you what's what and what's going on. So after the character card, you get cover A signed plus extras. Okay, now that's a very vague word. What are these extras? You get all these things. You get the card, you get the bookmark, you get the sticker, right?
Yeah, so that will come with those extras, exactly those specific ones you just mentioned.
All right, and then the catch-up package. Now, is this the graphic novel or is this?
That's correct. That is the trade paperback, 192-page trade paperback. That is a full wrap special print cover. So again, it runs all the way across, and that comes with the other covers, the cover A and B, and then the extras, the character card, the bookmark, the sticker, all that stuff.
Yeah, you never lose something off of the previous package. Although I do think you lose
except for the cover A sign. That's just a solo thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the ultimate bundle. Wow. That's that's cover A and cover B and the trade paperback and the book. Wait a second. That's this one down here. There we go.
Right.
The sticker, the bookmark, the thing about the kids. No, I mean, Origin 2, that's the variant of the trade paperback.
So the Origins 2 cover variant. So this is the standard cover. What that cover is a special cover by Igor Teixeira, which I always butcher because it's hard to do the Portuguese, but Igor is the lead graphic design artist at Rippaverse, and before he went there full time, he actually worked on some stuff for me. He even created my cover on my nonfiction book and a few other things. So he's very talented. Love that guy, and he made for me a variant cover of Origins 2 from the last series. So I'm going to only do a limited run of this. There will only be 100 at most copies of his cover print, this variant print. And if it's fewer than that, then I won't print more. It'll just be whatever's from the campaign plus my 10 copies that I keep, for myself and my friends, family kind of thing. And that's that. So it's a special, super rare comic that's a piece of indie comics history, especially, with his work with Rippaverse. So
yeah. And the ultimate bundle, maybe it's meant to, but it doesn't include the previous graphic novel, the trade paperback, the Origins trade paperback, right?
Right. So it doesn't include the Origins trade paperback because that's meant to be more so for new purchasers. So the idea with the Ultimate Bundle is, if you're someone who's been, along with the series, this is your ultimate of the latest issue new things.
Okay. There will be some special perks. This is, here we do get a bigger picture of that cover, and that is a very nice looking cover, by the way. Only 100 are going to be made. So very, very limited. This is the big review of the second cover. And we're not talking stretch goals yet, but
yeah, not until we hit that 100%. Once we hit there, then we'll announce our stretch goals. That's what I typically do. I usually don't talk about them until we hit 100.
That's a good idea. But you do you do have a sales thing on here that's not a tier, and you're selling advertising in the book.
Yeah, I've done ads, pretty much since near the beginning. I think actually even the first issue that I ever did the Origins early Futureverse prototype. So we've already sold out of basically 4 out of the 5 that are still available here. There's 6 ad spots for single pages, and I think we only have 1 left at this point.
So if you want to get an ad put in for something you're doing,
yeah,
how do they reach you?
Yeah, and typically people will give us their ad content. If someone really needs help or something simple, I can design it for them if they're okay with that. And we promote it to our other channels as well. So we thank people, not just on the campaign, not just in the comic book, but, we have quite a few different social media pages and things like that with some, substantial following. So we definitely let people know about whoever supports the campaign that way. So.
Okay, so they would just reach out to you on Twitter and say, "Hey, I want to buy that ad."
Oh, they would just buy it on the campaign. It's on there.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it should be the last one. I think it should be the last. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Sure enough, I didn't recognize it as a tier. So full page ad, $250. Yeah, that's a good deal. That's because I bought full page ads before, and I paid more, and I got the discounted rate and paid more. So I'm still waiting for the Christmas issue to come out where I can see my full page ad magazine.
Yeah.
There's
and they get a comic too. So if you have a full page ad, you also are going to get your standard comic perk. So you'll get the comic and the bookmark and the sticker as well with your advertisement placement.
One would hope you would get a copy of your advertisement. Yes. So,
yes.
When they buy these ads, do they get to pick where the ad is? I mean, it's like back cover, inside back cover, or is it just somewhere in one of the 5 selected spots throughout the book, or are they all in the back of the book?
No, I usually break it up. So like a normal comic book will have every certain number of pages, there'll be an ad. So, as you're flowing through the story kind of thing. So people don't get to pick exactly where it is, but obviously, every ad is going to be somewhere pertinent if you want to finish the whole story. So anyone who's reading the comic cover to cover is definitely going to see it. So.
All right.
For sure.
Well,
and we're also on Fund My Comic.
You are on Fund My Comic.
We are. Not only are we here, we're on Fund My Comic. So I can even show you if you want to see. For the first time ever, we decided to do Fund My Comic. So I did see your little promo with them, which is awesome.
Big supporter of FMC.
Yes, and we wanted to do that as well. And obviously, because their creator autonomy, free speech angle is super excited. And so I was like, okay, let's go ahead. Let's do this. So on Fund My Comic, we are going to offer a holofoil exclusive. So you can only get the holofoil variant of the cover, which is the main one, the cover A, the holofoil variant cardstock on Fund My Comic. And once that is finished, that is also it. There is no future, continuing, purchase on demand kind of thing for that. So we want to do something special just for that specific community and, do some, kind of promotion there. And I'm already seeing that, there's some people who jumped on there. And I know someone had just mentioned to me the other day that they want to support and Fund My Comic. So it's new to me, but I went through the process of learning it and learned how it all works compared to Indiegogo. And here we are.
Absolutely. And, you can keep more of your own money of what sells there too, I think is a nice little perk because they don't charge you as much as
Yeah.
Indiegogo does.
And it's interesting too because they have, especially when you do the Get Everything program, as you're funding, it automatically processes the payments. So through Stripe, I'm getting that money right away. Whereas opposed to Indiegogo, even if it's you get it no matter what, flexible funding, you still have to wait up to 15 business days after potentially to get everything. So it's a little bit different. And I'm like, oh, okay, that could be useful. Like having the money rolling to get things going if you needed,
Sure.
especially in this context. So again, just little nuances of difference, but overall the functionality seems, on par, at least with Indiegogo. You can easily set up your shipping and put in an image and a description. I did have one small issue so far in terms of a shipping issue, but they were prompt with responding with me. Basically, there was someone who had an address in Norway, and the shipping auto populator couldn't find that specific address. I sent them an email. They sent right back, "Hey, this is probably an issue if it's very obscure or foreign address. Sometimes it needs to be manually loaded." So I was like, "Okay, great." So I just had talked to that person to get their specific address. But again, very responsive crew. No problems whatsoever, and everything else has been perfectly fine. So,
yeah. Now this is the holofoil cover. I'm going to guess it's the silver holofoil. Where's the holofoil, or is it the whole cover is just going to be shiny?
So
sometimes I get holofoil and spot foil conflated.
Right. So the holofoil means in this case, the entire material, the printed material is itself that shiny silvery material. But in this case, instead of having what you see with Leviathan there and the door, it all being colored in, that silver part is going to be taken out in terms of the color printing, and then the black lines will be over it, and so it will have a nice sheen to it where the door looks like it's kind of sparkly popping out. And so it'll have that nice print, the center print with Leviathan, the reds and all other stuff, the different colors, but then the door will look like this shiny sheen door, and it'll have a full wrap on that shine.
I'm like Jesus in the in that show, The Chosen, when he's told, we can put you up in this room, but it's haunted by my grandmother. I'm like, ooh, I want that one. This is the one I want. I want the shiny holofoil cover from Fund My Comic. But
I do too.
If you've already backed on, Indiegogo, obviously get that. Get them both. Go. Why not both? Just hit them both up.
That's what I'm saying. If you're a true voluntarist fan, it's you got to have it all, right? You want to have the limited edition cover B, you want to have the holofoil. So that was the goal, was just to incentivize people to test it out with me, because I'm here willing to test Fund My Comic and to give them a shot. So I was like, come on and give them a shot with me.
All right. Jack, we're going to wrap it up here, I think. Folks, the links, I will edit this and put the Fund My Comic link under the video as soon as we're done here. So you can have your choice. It's all about choice, isn't it? It's all about choice until you choose the wrong thing. And then somebody's quick to point out, no, that wasn't the right choice. You should choose which means, of course, that there's no choice at all when that happens. But we're so immersed in politics that we only really recognize it when it's something of the extremes now. And that's why that's all we see is the extremes. Wow, that almost sounded profound when I said it.
You just got to keep going, to keep digging.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you, man, for coming on tonight and talking with us about The Voluntarist. This is a book series that I think people who are critical thinkers would definitely get into. Something that's a little bit deeper than your typical Cape fare. And I'm promoting it. I'm for it. I want to get my copy of it. So I'm going to hit up the Fund My Comic and get my shiny holofoil one, because it still comes with the bookmark and the trading card and the sticker. So, and I like those things. So everybody in the chat, all you guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. We don't have a show without you. We're just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. So we're glad you're here. And of course, while you were here, as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good night, everybody.